Hey, what's up? It's Matt. We're back with another episode of MPTV. This time we are in Arizona at BKD's with Brandon. What's going on?
Good, man. Just another day in paradise here in 70-degree weather in February. So
I will take that because in Kentucky in February it's not 70.
Yeah.
So tell everybody who you are, a little about your background.
Well, my name is Brandon Sirochman, third owner in what is called BKD's Backyard Joint. BKD's is Brandon, Kelly, and Dan. Kelly and Dan's background is the Melting Pot franchise here in Arizona. My background is large events with Live Nation here in New Mexico. And we have been working to find a place where we could put kind of all our ideas together. And about 4 years ago, this spot came available, and we made a purchase for it. It fell through, and then the lease was up, and luckily we were called to come fill the place, and was able to start from scratch and build what is BKD's Backyard Joint today.
So is the collaboration of all three of you, they're bringing the dining experience. Did you have food experience before this as well, or was this your first foray into it?
No, a little bit of background, some smokehouses that were here locally. Dan and I had a nightclub that when it initially launched, we had a restaurant concept in it. And the nightclub crowd quickly drew more of the bar and the dancing than the restaurant. And then we always wanted to put something together. But again, doing live concerts, nowadays as ticket prices go up, artist prices go up. So for us as a concert promoter to make money, it's the concessions. So making sure we've got quality food and beverage there and name brand stuff. And so I won't bore you with the concert stuff, but we brought in a bunch of branded things in that field. And from seeing what works and speed of service and customer service, kind of put that into here and made this what it is as a family joint.
So you got a little indoor, a little outdoor, kind of have the backyard feel right here.
Correct,
what was the motivation behind, could you have gone sports bar completely? Could you have gone family friendly? This is kind of a morph.
Yeah, it is. The history of the property has been sports bar driven, so we stuck with that theme. And then doing the research and knowing that it's a neighborhood joint, hence it was called the Backyard Joint, and figuring out that people didn't have a lot of options to eat good food around here. They can go downtown Chandler, but we're far enough away from that, and the 3-mile radius that we pull from, they're not just sports fans, they're families. Yep. And a lot of people walk here because it's a neighborhood joint. And so having another bar, having some TVs and just some draft beers, anybody can do that.
Yeah.
Setting us apart is, having good food that they're going to come back to and know that it's not just, prepackaged stuff that they're throwing in a fryer, which you see at most sports bars. We've got a scratch kitchen. So everything is made fresh, and the people love it. I mean, our sales are, for a sports bar, having close to 50% sales in food. That's a restaurant.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, break time. Restaurant owners, you're watching MPTV, so you're obviously interested in increasing your sales and profits. But what if I told you could eliminate the hope and pray out of your marketing? You could spend money and actually see results. Most marketing starts with attention, like a billboard. The problem is that attention leads nowhere. That's why we created the ROI Engine Restaurant Program. We take attention and gain huge engagement, whether it's in-store or online. We help you build a database with deep customer information that's comprised of email, cell phone, and birthday. And then we drive them into the restaurant with trackable results. Yes, results you can actually see. If you're interested and want to have a conversation, check out restaurantmarketingthatworks.com. Worst case scenario, you get a lot of great ideas. Now back to the show. So your background in the concert world, we talked for a few hours before this, and we were talking and the ideas you have, and it's different than I hear from a lot of restaurateurs. So what do you bring from the concert world that makes you kind of look at how you can activate a consumer? Because you're entertainment here.
Definitely. The biggest thing for me and for what I've learned in the background is the customer service. Because again, you can put up TVs and you can have beers, and there's only so many times you can see Luke Bryan come through or Def Leppard come through, because every year it's the same show. So how do you get people to come back to see the band? It's the experience. It's offering quality food, quality drink, the right price, and making sure that the experience from every touch point, they enjoy it from the time they walk in the door to the time that they're greeted to their seat, to the time that they spend in line, and taking that concept and putting it into a smaller version. Instead of doing it for 20,000 people, doing it for 200 people, you can actually, you make more regulars, because instead of us doing, like in the concert business, 30 events a year, we're doing 365 days here. So there's a lot more work to not only bring new people in, but keep the current people coming back.
Yeah, and I think that reminds me a lot of my first time I went to Disney World with my wife and kids. And after I went to Disney World, I read up on it, and you started to just feel. I remember one time I was lost going somewhere, and I literally turned around and there was a guy there, and I'm like, oh, where'd he come from?
Yeah.
What are you looking for, sir? Bathroom. Well, sir, let me walk you there. And I was like,
Right.
where's this guy come from? Then one time I was in a line, and there was these perfect misters, and just you afterwards you think about the experience was so good, like a concert.
Right.
Somebody's there for the concert, for the music.
Right.
But they could very easily make that music unenjoyable if there's a bad experience. And it's the same with a restaurant.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up Disney, because as Live Nation, we were trained by Disney, Disney University. And Disney, all their employees are considered cast members.
Okay.
They're not employees, so they all are trained to do the same thing. So the guy that's sweeping the floor, if a kid's lost, he's to take that kid or whatever and be able to take him and show him around. He is trained the same way that the general manager is trained, and they all have the same authority. And so we did that with the concert business, and again, rolling it into here, where instilling our managers and our staff to know all those aspects, and not just say, okay, just because you're the line cook or you're the bartender, that you guys don't know, and interact with everybody. I mean, it's a family group, and learning that from the Disney Institute, definitely helped elevated our customer service here as well.
And you saying that about everybody being trained to do the same stuff. I can't tell you how many times I've been at a restaurant. I was at one the other day, I won't mention the name, but I asked, how was this item? And the person's like, I don't know. I just prepare the food. And I'm thinking, like, if I owned a restaurant, which is hope I never do, because it probably would be a disaster. But if I did, I would want, from the busboy to the hostess to the bartender to the general manager, to have experienced every piece of food on our menu and to understand what goes into it.
Right. The biggest thing about that too is you get consistency. So when someone walks in, it's not, I've been to some places, and I won't mention names either, where you go in and you're like, oh, how's this dish? And they're like, well, let me check who's working in the kitchen. And right there, that's a bad sign. They're like, oh yeah, order that. We have the good chef. Yeah, we have the good chef on today. I go, well, what's the bad chef make? Like, let me know what days and I won't show up. I mean, that's terrible for business, so you want to make sure that if they come in, at 11 o'clock in the morning and order something, or they come in on a Monday evening at 9 o'clock at night, that the food and the service is what, is expected every time the same. That dish is going to be the same. It's not going to be different ingredients or something not made the same because they weren't trained to make it, so.
When you came into this concept, what did you see that other people weren't doing that you knew you could outshine? And you mentioned there's not a lot of great quality food in this part of town.
Right.
Your walking distance. Is there anything else that you saw that you say, hey, if we do this, it'll set us apart?
I think that comes from the partnership of what we all bring together.
Okay.
Again, being in a live business, and Dan and Kelly do some stuff in the sports world too. Networking and being able to put promos together. So not only can you get unexpected good food here, and you've got service and all this typical stuff with drinks. Every game you can think of, we bought every package. We have enough receivers to put everything on. But then other promos. I mean, if you're coming in here because you want to see the Suns game, and all of a sudden we can give you a pair of Suns tickets, that goes a long way. Same with NASCAR, and then same with concerts. Doing live music on Saturdays. Because again, there's not a lot of entertainment on this side of town, so being able to put something on that draws them in. Who doesn't like music? I mean, I've never met anyone that says, no, music's not my thing. There's not a single soul you can find. So, you give them a pair of tickets to, let's just say Disturbed, they're like, wow, I never knew I could get that from some little sports bar in Chandler.
Yeah.
So it's really tying all those promotions together, figuring out that, you don't have to just sell your product, getting people here to know that, you get to know them, and you're like, oh, well, I know that, you like hockey, and I happen to have these hockey tickets, and it's unexpected. So tying those and utilizing the inventory that we have, again, sets us apart, because we're not going to get anything from sending them to a Coyotes game, but we just gained a lifelong customer.
It's a much different opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
And another thing we were talking about along those lines was we talked about like the beer tastings, the brewmaster dinners.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got, what, 27 taps?
24 taps.
24 taps. So you got 24 taps. You know, there's bound to be alcohol reps that want to bring their craft brewery in. And talk about some of those events you've done there.
Yeah, we teamed up with a couple from Helton Brewery to Four Peaks, to Mother Road and Flagstaff, and they came down, they brought us the beers, they met with Chef, and he actually tasted them, put together a pairing with all four of them, so there was an appetizer, 2 entrees, and a dessert. And they went over really well. I mean, a lot of people, for one, again, didn't expect the different items to come out of the kitchen, but giving them the opportunity to pair the beers with the food, you know, it educates them as well.
Restaurant owners, did you know Matt has free online marketing courses that teach you how to successfully market your restaurant? Email support@mattplapp.com to get access to the courses and a free social media content calendar.
So, last question. I always ask this to end the podcast.
Yeah.
You're a active guy. You've
Right.
got a couple businesses. You got your hands out there. It's tough to unwind sometimes, to disconnect. I call it the airplane mode. One of my
Right.
clients, Chris Wiley, brought it up a while back. He said, when I go in airplane mode, this is what I do.
Right.
What do you do to go to airplane mode to maybe get away from this and get your mind back, get your mind right?
You know, I go back to music. So I started as a musician and got into the entertainment world and loved the camaraderie. And I was in a band in the 80s. I was a keyboard player, you know, with Bon Jovi in Europe, Whitesnake. And then it wasn't cool to have keyboards in rock music. It was 2 guitars. So never lost the trade. So to sit down and just, you know, play the piano, you know, is a stress reliever. And that's my unplug. And through that, either writing stuff or, you know, some ideas will come into my head. And then, you know, next thing you know, I'm on the phone with Dan or Kelly and talking about some kind of promo. So that's my unplug.
So you're unplugged, double dips. You're unplugged, gets your mind right, and you're like, oh,
Exactly.
we got to do this for BKDs.
Exactly.
Well, cool. Well, I appreciate your time.
Cool.
That's all
Thanks,
we
Matt.
got. Thanks, sir.
Appreciate it.
That's all we got in this episode. If you're out here in Arizona, make sure you swing by BKD's. Also, make sure you think about some of the stuff he talked about with adding a unique flavor to your restaurant. What can you bring differently that the neighborhood's not? Because everybody wants to go with the same. Why don't you do something to stand out and make yourself impactful? That's all we got. See you later.